Yeah, I'll mention it. Good to go? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the February meeting of the Westfield, Washington Township Board of Zoning Appeals. And happy Valentine's Day. Nothing says romance like land use regulations, so let's get going. First, I need to acknowledge two items from that have occurred since our prior meetings. Noble Hatfield was reappointed to the BZA by the City Council, and I was reappointed by the Plan Commission. Also, you'll note on the agenda here in the room, the election of officers is on the agenda. That matter was held last month, so there's nothing to do in regard to the election, correct? Great. First item to address is noting the presence of a quorum.
Ms. Fortier? Mr. Hatfield?
Here.
Mr. Schmitz?
Here.
Mr. McCarty?
Here.
Mr. Buller? We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is consideration of the minutes from last month, the January meeting. We have all been provided copies of the minutes of the January 10th, 2023 meeting. I had the opportunity to review those. Are there any questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from January 10th.
I second.
Motion by Victor, seconded by Noble to approve the meeting's minutes from January 10th, 2023. Voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes have been approved. Next item for consideration, or actually is for review of the rules and procedures for tonight's meeting. Staff?
Yes, for all petitions, tonight's meeting has the following structure. The department will summarize the petition and describe what action, if any, is necessary to be taken. Then the petitioner will be given up to 15 minutes to present to the board. The president will open a public hearing. Individuals will be given 3 minutes to speak. Those representing a group will be given 5 minutes to speak. Only one member of the group will be given 5 minutes to speak, and for efficiency purposes, we ask that those representing a group speak first. The public hearing will be closed when all interested members of the audience have had a chance to be heard and all emails received during the meeting have been provided to board members. The petitioner will then have a chance to respond to comments, and the board will follow with any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the petition. A few comments for BZA members and petitioners. Please do not disrupt the proceedings in any way. If you need to have a private discussion, we ask that you please quietly exit the room. Please silence your devices at this time, and if you must answer them, then please quietly exit the room. If you are attending in person and wish to speak in regard to a petition scheduled for a public hearing, once the public hearing is opened by the president, then please approach the podium and write your name and address on the sign-in sheet next to Lauren over here. If you are not attending in person, comments regarding a petition should be emailed to planners@westfield.in.gov with the petition name or number included in the subject line, and those comments will be forwarded to board members and the petitioner. During your comments, please state your name and address into the microphone. For the record, we ask that you not repeat previously stated comments. Your presentation will be timed and you will be advised when there is approximately 30 seconds remaining. We would also like to remind everyone to please speak directly into the microphone so your comments can be put onto the record. Thank you.
Thank you. First item on our agenda tonight is 2302 VU02, 606 Hillcrest Drive, Trent Wood, seeking a variance of use to permit a professional office use on 0.47 acres in an SF3 district. Ryan Collingwood is our staff planner.
Thank you, President, members of the board. For the record, Ryan Collingwood with the Community Development Department. The subject property is about half an acre in size and is located at 606 Hillcrest Drive within the aforementioned SF3 zoning district. The petitioner requests a variance of use to permit a professional office use on the property. The professional office use would take place within the existing residential building on the property. This item does require a public hearing tonight, which has been properly noticed and advertised, and staff has received no public comments related to this petition. The petitioner is here this evening to provide a brief summary of the request. They are available to answer any questions, as am I, should you have any for staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Trent?
Trent Wood, 14349 Hawthorne Drive, Carmel, Indiana, 46033. Yeah, I watched in December when the one across the street, when the Hunts went and turned theirs into an insurance company. And at the time, I was already in talks with the owner who was looking to potentially sell his property. And I said, well, what if I bought it for an office? Because I'm looking for office space. And when that one got turned over and the conditions were very reasonable, I thought that'd be great for a small team. So I have a couple agents on my team, and right now I'm renting a small little cube and it'd be nice to have office space. So we'll keep it residential in nature. The hours are fantastic per the guidance that was provided, the conditions. And yeah, just looking to update it and turn it into office space. Any questions?
Yeah, one, briefly, you mentioned the conditions. If you noticed in the staff report, hopefully you noticed, there were 4 conditions that were recommended by staff. Basically, that the property retain a residential character, but all those you understand and
Hours,
agreeable to
yep,
those.
exactly, yep.
Great, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and open this matter for a public hearing at 7:05. And if we have anyone in the building that wishes to speak, come sign up and approach the lectern now. Do we have any electronic communication?
And we do not have any emails.
Okay, I'll give it about a minute and then we'll shut down the public hearing. No electronic communication has been offered, so I'll close the public hearing at 7:06. This is a pretty similar fact pattern that we just considered on a similar property recently and has the same conditions as far as retaining the residential character of the neighborhood in limited hours and so forth, and a fairly low intensity use. Any questions or comments from the board?
Just one, do you anticipate any additional parking needs on the property?
No. No, I'm aware of the floodplain and how it'd be very unlikely to actually be able to. And I can probably fit, I think, about 6 cars where people can get in and out, and that'll be plenty. I'm not looking to have 20 people working out, very small in nature, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve 2302 VU-02606 Hillcrest Drive with the following recommended conditions. The proposed professional office use shall be limited to real estate office or a substantially similar use as determined by the Director of Community Development. The existing residence on the property and/or any additional improvements to said residence must remain residential in character as determined by the Director of the Community Development Department. Hours of operation for professional use on the property shall be limited to 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday with no hours of operation on Sundays. And last, that the petitioner shall record an acknowledgement of this approval with the Hamilton County Recorder's Office and return a copy of the recorded instrument to the Community Development Department. Bless you.
I second.
Motion by Victor, seconded by Noble to approve 2302 VU-02, subject to the 4 recommended conditions in the staff report. Dan, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hatfield,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, and I'll make a motion to adopt staff's findings of fact for the approval of 2302 VU-02. Do we have a second?
Second?
Motion by myself, seconded by Victor, to adopt staff's findings of fact for the approval of this variance. All those in favor, voice vote indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Been approved. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 2302 VS-02, 3761 Shady Lakes Drive. Jennifer Miller seeking a variance of development standard to exceed the maximum lot coverage and encroach 9 feet into the 25-foot minimum rear yard setback line in the Andover PUD. And staff planner is Dane.
Evening, members of the board. For the record, Dane Crabtree with the Community Development Department. The item before you this evening are proposed variances of development standard for 3761 Shady Lake Drive, a 0.45 acre parcel in the Lakes at Shady Nook subdivision, which is located within the Andover PUD. 2 variances are requested this evening. One to encroach 9 feet into the 25-foot minimum rear yard setback, and also to exceed the maximum lot coverage standard of the Andover PUD so that a swimming pool and deck may be built. This item is scheduled for a public hearing this evening. It has been properly noticed and advertised. The department has received no public comments. As you may notice in Exhibit 5, the HOA has approved the request. The petitioner, Jennifer Miller, is present this evening. She does not plan to give a presentation, but is available for questions should you have any. Thank you.
Thank you. One initial question before I open the public hearing. Wanted to ask staff about the interpretation on the encroachment as to the pool. 9 feet appears sufficient, but then the concrete and the porcelain tile and so forth goes to about the 12-foot mark. Why is it that we only need 9?
Yeah, so the actual encroachment is for the pool itself, not the swimming pool or excuse me, the decking of the pool, similar to how a patio on the back of a house could encroach into. It's not a building. The actual improvement location permit that the building department goes out and inspects is for the pool itself, not the decking. And so the decking itself can encroach, but not the pool.
Great, thank you for that explanation. I'll open the public hearing at 7:11. And do we have any electronic communication?
And we do not.
If anyone in the audience wishes to speak to this petition, please approach. Otherwise, we'll give it a minute or so for any public communication to come in. There's been no additional communication, so I'll close public hearing at 7:12. And Jennifer, you're in the audience somewhere? If you'll approach here for a second, we'll have a couple of questions for you. If you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Jennifer Miller, 3761 Shady Lake Drive, Westfield.
Great, thank you. If you'll notice, you probably saw the staff report, I presume, prior to the hearing. There were 2 recommended conditions that are fairly straightforward in your case, but one in particular I wanted to point out is that the property be developed in substantial compliance with your Exhibit 3, which is that map. So so you understand that's what's being approved. So any variance from that, you'd have to get back with Dane and make sure that, because what we're considering tonight is purely that. Okay, so I just want to make sure you understood that.
That's correct. I think Dane explained that we could do less than that, but no more.
Great. Any questions from board members? This was lot coverage, right?
Yeah, lot coverage and the encroachment.
Okay. Anything from board members? Now I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve 2302-VS-02 at 3761 Shady Lakes Drive with the following recommended conditions. That 1, that the property be developed in substantial compliance with the site plan, which is Exhibit 3, also recognized as a diagram. And 2, that the petitioner shall record an acknowledgement of this approval with the county recorder's office and return a copy of the recorded instrument to the Community Development Department.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Hatfield, seconded by Victor, to approve 2302 VS-02, subject to the 2 recommended conditions in the staff report. Dane, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Hatfield?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, and I'll make a motion to adopt staff's findings of fact for the approval of this petition.
Second?
Motion by myself, seconded by Victor, to adopt staff's findings of fact for the approval of 2302 VS-02. Voice vote, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Matter's approved. Thank you.
Enjoy your pool.
Final matter on our agenda is 2302 SE01. Addresses 19601, 19609, 19641 Fremont Moore Road. Mr. Salgado seeking a special exception to allow an equestrian facility in the AGSF1 district. And Lauren Gillingham is our staff planner.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you mentioned, the item before you tonight is a request for a special exception to allow the equestrian facility use on 3 parcels owned by the applicant on Fremont Moore Road. This roughly makes up the Picture Estates subdivision and zoned AGSF1 and just under 14 acres. So the intent behind this is for horse boarding and training of the petitioners' horses, as well as other like-minded horse owners, not necessarily a commercial use. And as a result, the petitioner has self-imposed a number of conditions. Yes, Dan, if you want to go back to that last picture. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. So initially, the horses will stay in the existing building on the site. There are plans to eventually add some additional room for stables, as shown on the screen there. One of the self-imposed conditions is that there's no added impervious surfaces or parking, that future improvements related to this use will be confined to what was proposed in Exhibit 5. Shall be a maximum of 18 horses permitted to be stabled at one time. The exact use shall be limited to horse stables, boarding, training, and other services as determined by the Director of Community Development. Disposal of manure and other horse debris shall be removed on a weekly basis, and no public equestrian events. The petitioner is here, and if he would like, he could make a few words.
Lakshan Salgado, 19609 Fremont Moore Road. I want to clarify a few things about staff mentioned. The red drawing, if you don't mind flipping back to that, that is actually a proposed indoor riding arena. It is not a stable. The facilities that are already there, we will convert into indoor stables. So just to clarify, that structure that we will ask for is just because the kids can go out in the cold and ride horses in this inclement weather. I do have some pictures of what that will look like. If you guys would want to have a copy of it, the rough drawing. You want me to? You can pass out.
Thank you.
This is my family here, and this facility is actually for Seth, my younger son. Older son, I'm sorry. He's into quarter horses. Unfortunately, we were boarding in Brownsburg, and then we live nearby, so it made sense for us to acquire this property for him. That's his passion. The reason that we're going to board some is because what we found is there's nobody who has the quarter horses and the paint horses in this area. So we've had many requests from friends saying, hey, we're all like-minded, can we have some horses at your facility? This is a permitted special exemption, so there is not a variance, obviously. It is permitted under agricultural, and this is the formal process to request that approval.
Thank you, Lashon. One question I have for you is part of our consideration for these types of petitions centers around the scope of what you're doing and the impact it has on surrounding properties. And a lot of what we have, particularly in our rural areas, a lot of our concern flows from the commercial character of whatever's proposed. So could you describe what you anticipate in terms of this being a business versus, you know, a homeowner who has houses in their backyard? What's the scope, what's the magnitude of your commercial use of this property as proposed?
It is more of a private facility. We are not really advertising it publicly. Does that answer the question? We are somebody can just show up at our doorstep and say, can you board our horse kind of thing. That's not the case.
Okay, but you will board horses for others
That
besides
is
yourself?
correct. That is correct.
Subject to the limits of 18 horses?
That is also a misnomer, actually. I follow the letter of the law of the board here. It says at any time, that means if somebody brings 6 horses onto the property, for that moment of time, you will have 18, but the reality is the capacity is only for 12, and that's what the existing facilities will allow. But we want to follow the letter of the law and make sure that we have 18 on the record.
Great, thank you for that clarification. Any other questions from the board before I open the public hearing? Okay, you can have a seat for a second, and I'll open a public hearing at 7:21. Do we have anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this petition? If you do, come on up. There's a clipboard to sign. And do we have any electronic communication staff?
We do, excuse me, we do not.
Thank you. Give it a minute or two. Y'all are welcome to talk. I mean, this is easy stuff. We'll be nice. Dane, the building itself, is it really outside the scope of what we're addressing tonight?
Yeah, the building, you know, that,
Or I guess it's a
it would be just, you know, a building permit that whatever is permitted, there's nothing tied to substantial compliance regarding the building here.
essentially we're just notice that that's their intentions, but it really
Correct.
doesn't affect
Yeah.
special exception petition.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any communication?
We do not have any electronic communication.
I'll close the public hearing at 7:22. Members of the board, questions, comments?
Just to clarify, I believe it was mentioned, because often we see time limits on variances or special requests. So this is permanent with the residents, correct?
That is correct. Yes, we'll probably end up retiring here.
Oh, awesome, thank you.
Do you reside, or will you reside in the house on the property?
Not at this moment, because the kids go to Zionsville.
Okay.
But as soon as they wrap up, that's where we'll move to.
Okay,
And we're on the property as it is every day, twice a day at least.
I see. And Lauren, just for clarification on what constitutes the need for the special exception in being an equestrian facility, how does that differentiate from just a property owner that has a barn with horses?
Yeah, so the aspect that triggered the special exception use was because he will be taking horses from other people, not
Gotcha.
just the property owner. That's the one aspect alone.
Beyond personal use triggers the need.
Exactly, not necessarily commercial use, but beyond personal use. If it was just his horses he was boarding, then, you know, it would be allowed by right.
Okay.
Well, we certainly appreciate your honesty and wanting to do things the right way, so thank you.
And then we don't need anything. The petition, I believe, talked about expanding parking area or something, but since it's gravel, proposed to be gravel, there's no issue with the condition it says impervious?
Well, even gravel can be considered impervious depending upon the level of porousness, but no, the condition here, the proposal being that there's no increase in parking, which would alleviate concerns of it becoming a commercial open to the public facility. That's the reason why it was added to it, but yeah.
This condition, to
That
kind of
specific
keep it
condition.
from being viable as a high-use commercial operation.
Right.
Okay. And then you, as a petitioner, you're aware, you've read through all the conditions and maybe offered up most of them, but you're comfortable with all the conditions that have been presented by staff?
Yeah, actually, I worked with Dane on it.
Okay, very good.
We're all good.
Thank you. We always just want to make sure that the petitioner is aware of those, since our consideration of them is usually based upon those conditions.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, to clarify, if there was impervious surface to be added to the property, if it were a commercial operation, a detailed development plan would be required. And this is just another one of those, I guess, the opposite of a trigger would stop it before it even starts, you would think, so.
Does it create line drawing challenges for staff to regulate commercial versus this?
I mean, not necessarily, only because if we know about it, if someone from the public, you know, ends up having a complaint about it, then if we have an old staff report and a known variance, then it certainly clarifies things. But yeah, in the events, there are certainly times where we do wonder if there is actually a commercial operation going, but you know, you can't just sit there and stake it out or anything like that. So if it's if it's a really quiet commercial operation, sometimes I'm sure it goes unnoticed, and I'm sure those do exist.
Well, it's a pretty expansive list of conditions, and I would think most of them would be easily verified, so. Anything, anyone? I'll entertain a motion.
I always have to read the long ones, so I'll bite the bullet for you. I'll make a motion to approve 2302 SE01 Fremont Moore Road Equestrian Facility with the following recommended conditions. First, the equestrian facility shall be limited to horse stables, boarding, training, and other similar services as determined by the Director of Community Development. Number two, a maximum of 18 horses shall be permitted to be stabled on the property at any given time. Number three, future structural improvements related to the special exception shall be generally located in/around the area outlined in Exhibit 5. Number four, manure and other disposable items shall be removed from the property on a weekly basis. Number five, no added impervious surfaces for driveways and/or parking shall be permitted than those existing at the time of the approval of this special exception. Number six, no equestrian events open to the general public shall take place on the property. And number seven, the petitioner shall record acknowledgement of this approval with the Hamilton County Recorder's Office and return a copy of the record instrument to the Economic and Community Development Department.
I second.
Motion by Victor, seconded by Noble to approve 2302 SE01, subject to the 7 recommended conditions in the staff report. Dan, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Hatfield?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And I'll make a motion to adopt staff's findings of fact for the approval of this matter.
Second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Victor, to adopt staff's findings of fact for the approval of this petition, 2302 SE01. Voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So your matter is approved. Thank you very much.
Welcome to
Enjoy
Westfield.
your property. Next, we have reports and comments. Plan Commission liaison.
Yes, sir. I'll try to run through this quickly. We met on 2/6. On our consent agenda were 2 items that we have previously seen here at BZA. Pet Suites of Westfield on Cary Road, that's next to between the Walgreens and Goodwill. And then the renovation of the McDonald's on Thatcher Lane. For items of business, we had the Woods Robinson Briggs PUD that was just officially approved at City Council last night. We gave a favorable recommendation 7-0. And then the Grand Park Village Amendment number 5, which is 77 townhomes across from the PAC, that was given a favorable recommendation 6-1. And then our public hearing items, Wheeler Landing PUD Amendment 6, which is on 186th Street. And it's really just a landowner rights issue, wanting to sell their land adding 2.5 acres to an already, to the Wheeler Landing for an already approved use. And then the Westfield Washington Schools PUD, that would be replacing current PUD standards on State Road 32, where they want to build a new middle school and possibly a future elementary school and additional sports facilities for the district. And that was all.
Thank you. And Community Development Department.
I don't know. Do we have any technical filings so far? We had one, but it withdrew already, so I don't know. I'll keep you updated. We may or may
Chased
not
them
have
away
another
already?
one. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So we'll see if we have anything that jumps on the agenda then, huh? Great. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Motion by Victor, seconded by Noble to adjourn our meeting at 7:31. All voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.